job. He set it up so that I would have this job, and I'm still not running to him to say, what are you going to do next? Why did you allow this to happen? What's going, what's your plan? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Or like, give me direction, tell me what to do. I wasn't thinking none of that. I was thinking, what am I going to do? All the weight of what I was feeling, all the burdens of the worries of life, I was holding it myself. That's what allowed me to feel even more heavy. I didn't have people around me. I wasn't going to God. I'm like, I'm here. I felt crushed. I was so upset about it. But you can't sit there for too long. You cannot. Practically, life goes on. Bills are still going to come in. Things are still going to be due. You're going to have to do what you have to do. So I went and did some searching online. I found out that living in New York, they have programs. Oh, this is 22 minutes long. I hope y'all are enjoying this because I'm not cutting it again. But anyway, so I'm living in New York, and I looked and they said that there are programs in New York that allow you to get your CNA license for free, because I knew that applying to other jobs would be difficult. Though I had the experience, I don't have the certification, because this was one of the few hospitals that hire you without certification. When I looked it up online, went there the next day, started the computer part of it immediately. Went through the program, and it was almost a breeze for me, because what I was being trained for, I had already worked in the field. I had already done the things they were teaching, majority of them. Some things I didn't know, so I did learn some things from the school, but I came in with a wealth of knowledge that I had gotten from this other job that God gave to me. So the CNA program was no problem. Though I had issues in life at the time. My car got towed maybe 3 times. I got into a car accident, totaled my car that I had just bought while working at the other hospital. So it wasn't easy, but God was still working. I got through the CNA program. I graduated, took the state boards, got 0 questions wrong. I got a 100 on the state board exam. My teacher was so proud. She asked me to give a speech at the graduation, their first year having a graduation at the school. So I gave the speech. It was cool, but at the same time, I'm still sitting in my emotions because I go to this graduation and I'm by myself. This is a whole nother topic about dealing with loneliness and depression and anxiety, but not right now. So I got my CNA license. Now I'm starting to look for jobs. I want to say this is around March. I think I lost my job like January, December, and now it's around March and I'm looking for a new job. No, it can't be January, December if I start in September. Don't mind my timeline. I don't know. Even on my resume, I'd be making up dates because I'd be just approximating, okay? It's not a lie. It's an approximation because I don't know unless I look at my calendar or an email. So, I'm looking for jobs now. I'm looking for jobs, and around, I think, March or so, I went to the shift conference. The church I was attending at the time, they had something called the shift conference. And so I went to the shift conference, and God, I needed a shift. I needed some things to change in my life. Like, I needed to see tangible results of a shift, of transformation in my life. So I remember Prophet Ricardo Brown. It's his conference. He's the one who hosted. He said, he put up a general kind of prophetic statement, and I grabbed it. He said, some of you in this room, within 12 days, you will see a miracle. And so I'm saying, okay, that means in 12 days, I got a job. That means in 12 days, I will be working somewhere. I remember I was applying for stuff before I had initially graduated, and I got a call back from another hospital. And they said, okay, I did the interview, and it went well. She said, okay, well, let me know when you graduate. Let me know when you get your CNA license. Email me and let me know. So I emailed her. I told her. But I didn't hear nothing. I didn't hear anything back from her in a while. So I'm still sitting, and I'm once again in the position where I'm getting job offers that are cool, but it's not what I want. I was getting offers for things like nurse's aide within what is it called? Nursing home, or like assisted living kind of things. Even assisted living to me would have been a little bit better than a nursing home, just based on what my thinking of what that working setting would be like. But it's not what I wanted. I wanted to be in a hospital. I wanted to be back with patients, not residents. Nothing against the elderly. Some of my favorite patients have been old people. They're so sweet and so funny and so cute. But that's just not what I wanted. So I, was sitting there waiting. I'm marking the days on my calendar. 1, 2, 3. Okay, God. It's 3 days. Okay. All right. You rose on the 3rd day. You didn't give me a job on the 3rd day, but you rose. Okay, cool. 4, 5, 6. I'm like, man, we getting kind of close. 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm like, God. You have 2. I remember saying to myself, you got 2 more days, bro. Please, 2 more days. You said it. You said in 12 days. I grabbed it. I received it for myself. I was holding on to that prophecy. On the 12th day, I got a call back from that job. I was like, God, you are so good. I was hyped. I was excited. I got the job. I'm back in another hospital. It was different because it was an overnight position, not exactly what I wanted, but it was a job. So I took it. I started doing the orientation there. Then while I was working there, maybe like a couple days later, I got a call to do an interview at a group home. A group home where I would be the healthcare specialist in the place. So I would still be working with people in a medical capacity or whatever. Not a hospital setting, but I went there and I liked it. I liked the vibe. I liked the person who interviewed me. It was cool. So I was like, all right, let me see how this go or whatever. So I accepted that job. So now I work at the overnight place, and I work in a group home. It was hard to juggle those for a while because when I was doing orientation from the group home, it would be like I work from 3 to 11. No, I work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Then from 7 a.m., I would rush to the place, change and go to where I'm going for the orientation. Orientation is from like 9 to 5 or 4 if we got out a little early. Go home and sleep for a little bit, then work from 11 to 7, and then I got orientation the next morning. So I was sleep deprived. But I was starting to realize while I was working overnight that I didn't really like that position. It was like a long-term care facility for children. It was cool, but one, I could not do overnight, and I didn't really like that specific specialty or unit. It wasn't for me. My heart was too soft for it. It was really hard for me to be there. But I was doing it because, all right, whatever. But I'm like, at least I got this other job I can rely on. I don't know how the pay worked out, but I figured if I stopped working at the overnight position, which I need my sleep, and I just only took the group home position, then at least, I could be able to sleep more and have a more regular schedule, and I could get overtime if I needed the money. So I told the lady, and then there was some things where this one of the nurses was like, oh, she's not gonna make it, and it was getting back to me. Mind you, overnight, everybody on their phone. There is no management here. Everybody's on their phone. So I would do my work. I would go sit down. At the time I was studying for like a pre-exam for a program I wanted to apply to. So when I was doing that, I would have my music on. I was watching videos to review or whatever. And he always had something to say about me being on my phone or about me not making it. And the lady who was orienting me was like, just be careful because people here talk and blah, blah. I'm like, y'all, I don't even want to be here. And y'all make it, I don't talk to anybody. Most of the times, if I'm in a new setting, I'm quiet. If you know me, I'm quiet and I'm reserved. You're not going to hear from me until I open up. I will be quiet for years and just sit there quietly and just observe and just be in my own little bubble. So I didn't understand why this guy was messing with me. He was just making it more unpleasant for me to be there, on top of the fact that it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm tired and I'm going to get no sleep before I have to go sit someplace for about another 5 or 6 hours, sleep for like 4 hours and come back again. Even though it was 3 days out of the week, it was those days where it overlaps was very tiring. So I decided to leave that job. I emailed her and told her I didn't even make it through orientation. It was probably like a 3-week orientation. I was like, yeah, this is not for me. I can't, the overnight schedule isn't for me. And I did let her know that the working environment was a little bit harsher than what I wanted because I felt like it was necessary. A lot of times people don't speak up about the things that bother them in situations where there can be a change. Because I know other people, I heard about a guy who was there who they said got fired because of what somebody else said. So I spoke up about it or whatever, but that's besides the point. I left the job and I stuck to the group home. Working for the group home for a while. And what happened after that? I don't remember. Because there was a point in time where I was working at one point I was working 3 jobs. I went from having no job, wondering how I was going to work, to having 3 jobs. So now anyway, I'm working at the group home and it's cool. And then a recruiter reaches out to me. A recruiter reached out to me. She was like, hey, are you applying for, hospital positions, or we have your application here. You applied. I do not remember applying to this guy. God must have sent in my resume and my cover letter because I do not remember applying. This video is kind of long. I might split it into part 2. But yeah. So yeah, I don't remember applying, but then I got the call. They said, hey, this, it's pretty simple. This is the hospital. I'm like, oh, this hospital. I looked it up online. I'm like, this is nice. This is big. This is good. Learning opportunity, more direct, like with the medical technology that I would need as, not technology, terminology that I would need to learn as opposed to something in a group home. I liked the group home. It was cool. I had some cool people that I was working with, but it wasn't exactly the type of experience that I needed. So I sat my manager down and I told her, hey, I got this other position and I don't know if I'll be able to balance both. But she did not want me to go. She loved me. She was like, you're really good here. We like how you work and blah, 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 blah. I'll give you the time to go and do the orientation. But even if can you go to part-time instead of leaving? That's okay. I can do that. That's fine. It's no problem. At this point, I was kind of used to working more than one job, but the hours would be a little bit better because this position that I got was 7 to 7. It was my first 12-hour shift job. It was cool. So she let me do that, and now I'm working 2 jobs. I went from wondering, like, I got fired from the bank, I got fired from the first hospital, and then I end up now I have opportunities coming to me. I'm like juggling. Do I work here? Do I work there? Do I got 2, 3 jobs? I was like, yes, it was good. So God completely shifted that for me. And then other things happened and I ended up leaving that job. Oh boy, this is a long story. This is how God goes way back and he boils straight down to the future, things that you can't even see. I went back years and I'm still not even in the end yet. Just the ins and out of what God was doing. So now I'm working at this one hospital alone, and it's cool. Now they do a transition where you were hired through an agency, but now they're doing it to where you're hired directly through the hospital. So I'm working directly for the hospital not long after then COVID hit. And so I'm working there and I'm having issues with it. I had a little bit of anxiety because I didn't really want to work on the units. There were some situations that hit a little bit too close to home, which made the anxiety like a little bit heavier for me. At the time I was fearful. In some instances I just wasn't comfortable until somebody told me either you're going to decide to be afraid or you're going to trust God. And so I decided to trust God. I worked through it. God, once again, he turned things around. For somehow I was floating for a very long time in the hospital, meaning I had no home unit. Every day I would go to a different assignment. Somehow I ended up getting a home unit during the pandemic, and my home unit was the only clean floor in the hospital. The only clean floor. The hospital had 7 floors. The first one was like testing kind of stuff, but everything else was like patient rooms. The only clean floor. Now I have a home unit. Now I have to be in the one place where this virus is not, is where God is going to choose to position me. Wow. He just turns it around in my favor every single time. So I'm there, I'm working, and it's cool. It got a little bit rough because when they transitioned over, not everybody started at the same time. And I think what they were trying to do was weed people out so they could do their own hiring process, because at first they were kind of obligated to keep everybody because they chose to make this transition. So at this time, I probably had been working there for at least a year. I want to say at least a year. And so now I'm working there, and it started getting rough. I would get to work and it's just chaos. It was the staffing was horrible. So nurses didn't know where they were going to go. Like, instead of me starting immediately at 7, I got to wait and see what my assignment, who am I going to have today? Is it going to be 2 of us? Is it going to be 3 of us? Then it got down to a point where it's just one of me. It's me and 17 patients. Me, 18, 19, 20 patients. In an ICU, it's different. I think in the ICU, maybe I had like 16 before, but it's two patients per nurse there. So you get way more help from the nurses. On this unit, the nurses have like 5 patients, 6 patients, and I have 17. So I'm doing vitals for everybody, checking everybody's blood sugar. It was a lot. I was busy a lot. I was getting miserable. I didn't want to be there anymore. I'm like, you know what? I just got accepted into this program. I know that I'm about to start doing this. I'm going to leave. As soon as my program starts, I'm giving them 2 more weeks. I'm going to leave. I'm about to leave. So now, at the time, this works its way into the story. I was supposed to be working as a medical scribe somewhere, but then the pandemic hit and they took their scribes out of like emergency rooms. And it's funny because the scribe position that I got would have been at the hospital that fired me in the first place. I was going to be working right with the doctors in the emergency room at the place that decided to let me go. Not for them, but through a different company, Scribe America, through them in that hospital. I was like, ain't that crazy? The place that they took me out of, God was placing me back into. That's crazy. But because of the whole pandemic thing, that got messed up. So now I'm still working for this hospital, but I'm like, I'm about to leave. I'm miserable here. I'm working way too hard. 17 people. I'm exhausted. My feet is hurting me. Some of the nurses were not helping me. It was just very difficult. And I knew that I was going to be going to an accelerated program, which meant that my focus was going to be, it needs to be tight. It's going to be a lot going on. It's going to go really fast. I didn't want to have to work and juggle that at the same time. So I said, you know what, in 2 weeks, I'm going to leave. I remember one day I was at work and I was once again by myself. It wasn't starting to be like, oh, you're by yourself, and then the next day you come in as 3 people. It was like every shift I'm by myself. How do we go from having 2 aides, 3 aides for one side alone to me by myself with 17 patients? And sometimes the other side of the unit wouldn't have anybody. I'm not doing 17, 34. If that's what it is, I'm not doing that many patients. They was going to have to do that themselves. So I was getting tired of it. So, all right, I'm said, cool. One day I'm here and I'm by myself. And I remember I just sat down, literally did vitals, did sugars, whatever, been working all morning from 7 probably straight to 12, didn't sit down at all. Just sat down at my computer, took my phone and I sat it right in front of me. And I don't know what I put on for just literally, I had the video playing for like maybe 15 seconds. A lady walks past me. Are you supposed to be on your phone? I was like, no, but I just sat down. I'm by myself. I'm exhausted. I'm annoyed. I just wanted to relax. I could have stepped away. I understand the phone on the floor, but it's not like there was that many people in the hospital. There was no visitors because we're in the pandemic. Not as much staff because we're in the pandemic. Anything that was elective was canceled unless it was urgent or whatever the case was. It wasn't going on. So yeah, I was a little bit annoyed that she asked me that. Like, do you not know what I've just been through for these last 4 hours by myself on my feet? More than 4, at least 5, because it was from 7 to 12 at least. I didn't even have lunch. I probably had like a 10-minute breakfast, if that. And going to breakfast, leaving task, and coming back and seeing the same task there because the nurses were not helping me. So I was like, whatever. She's like, oh, what's your name? I was like, Rashida Nelson, whatever. She saw my badge. She remembered it. I didn't know who she was, but I think mentally I was kind of fed up with the place. I didn't have an attitude with her, but I was basically saying, are you kind of like, are you, I was a little bit like, are you kidding me? Right now, this is what's priority to you. You don't care about how tired I am, about how understaffed I am, how unsafe this patient assignment is. It's not safe for one person to take care of 17 people. If somebody falls and I'm in this room, I cannot help that person. I can't feed all these people who needs to be fed at the same time. Whatever. So then I think maybe a week later, a couple days later, I got a call and they fired me over the phone this time. But this time, it felt a little bit different because I wanted to leave and I knew that I had, my program for school that I was going to be starting school soon. So even though I did cry, because I'm a crybaby, that's just what I do. I did cry, but when I told my parents this time, it was not from a place of devastation. It was finally from a place of, you know what, this is uncomfortable for me. I'm upset. I'm a little bit disappointed. I would have rather had been the one to step away from it because I was preparing them for the fact that going back to school, I'll probably step away. I would rather have been in the position of control with removing myself rather than it be taken from me. But I'm okay. God he's doing something. He's up to something. It's okay. I'm not worried. I'm a little bit sad, but I'm not worried. I'm not relying on myself. I'm good. This is what I told my family. This is what I was telling myself. I was like, it's all right. It's cool. Now, it has been however many months since then, and I have not gone hungry. My rent has not gone unpaid. I'm in my program and I'm doing well. I'm still not working and I'm thriving. During that same shift conference that I mentioned way back, he said to me personally, Prophet Ricardo, he said, the amount of money that's in your account will never be this low again. And I said, okay, I receive it. At that time, I wasn't working. I had jobs in between then. The amount of W-2s that I've been through, because I got addicted to working at a point in time. And it was just like, man, God, look at me now. I'm in my program, and even though it's difficult, I'm thriving. My account has never been as low as it was then. I got money I paid off my credit cards. All I have on me is my student loans. Like, I'm able to, you know what, I want to eat this today. You know what I mean? I'm not living lavish per se. I'm still being responsible with my money. But because of the fact that I was fired, I was eligible for unemployment. I don't know. I never did file for it before. Any of the other 2 times, I don't know. I just didn't. But I was eligible for unemployment, and being unemployed during the pandemic meant an extra check on top of the check. So now I can't say it equated to what I was making at the hospital, but my needs were met. My car insurance was paid. I got a new car while I wasn't working. Was I working? I don't think I was. Because issues with my other car. But I got a new car when I wasn't working. My rent has been paid. Man, I'm telling you, God has been so good. That's why I'm going to say that in no situation am I going to give credit to the devil to say that he caused me to get fired or it was the devil that was putting stumbling blocks in my way. It was not. It was God making sure that he orchestrated every step of my path, that I would end up right where I am right now, that I would have, even though I'm not at full financial freedom yet, even though I am still receiving assistance in some capacity from my family, I'm not in the I'm so much more comfortable. Like my trust in God has just flourished. My faith in God has just flourished. And there's still areas where I'm working on it, and I need to believe in him more and to trust in him more and to rely and depend on him more. But as far as it goes for him supplying my needs, I'm never again will I ever worry and say, will God, is he going to did he make plans for me? Man, I have so like my tattoos. This one says, be still. It's for me to remember to be still and know that he is God. And then I put a lily on top of it to remind myself of the fact that if he take care of the lilies, this is not about your opinions on tattoos. This is just me bringing a little bit of light to the scriptures that inspired them. But if he takes care of the lilies of the valley, why would he not take care of me? For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you, to give you hope and a future. You cannot worry. You might lose your job, you might lose a relationship, you might lose friends, you might move away from your family, you might be by yourself, going through depression, anxiety, having suicidal thoughts, whatever it is, God is always in the midst. And at the end of, when you get to the end, it'll make sense. Now I can look back and say, if I didn't lose my job at the bank, I would have never met that lady. And if I didn't meet that lady, I wouldn't have gotten the hospital experience. If I didn't get the hospital experience, I wouldn't be able to go through the CNA program so well and get a job. Things that I just started. I was getting calls for jobs at some points left and right. Like this person's, I'm like, I can't take no more. I can't take no more. I was working 3 jobs. God just kept pouring the blessings in my lap. Every time I looked up, I was like, God, you're so good. So good. Even though I didn't get into the program that I wanted to initially, even though I'm not in PA school, which is what I initially thought for myself, God is so good. And I can just see his blessings flourishing over my life. That's why I can say now at this point, the joy that I have inside, man, I'm just so grateful. So grateful. I really, really, really encourage people to just trust in God, to really depend on him to supply every need, whether it's emotional, financial, whatever it is that you need. He is more than able. He is more than capable. We do not have the vision that he has. We cannot see the future to know that 2 months down the line, 2 weeks, 2 years, 2 decades down the line, what you're doing right now has a purpose. What you're going through right now has a purpose. Remember what you felt. Remember what you experienced, so that when you get to the other side, when you get to that place of purpose, of destiny, of more clear understanding, you can share it. So you can empower somebody else to be like, you know what? I'm going to choose to decide to trust in God. I'm going to say, all faith, no fear. I say this all the time because now it's something that I have adapted, and I was able to adapt all faith, no fear because of what God brought me through. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. I'm probably going to have to split it up because I don't think anybody's going to sit down and watch 45 minutes of Rashida talking. But yeah, man, God is just so good. Please, if you have something to share in the comments or some space, wherever you see this video, I would love to hear about the testimony. And I really do encourage you to tell a family, tell friends in your post somewhere. Give credit to God where it's due, so people can know that they also have access to the joy, to the provisions, to the hope of the Lord, to the love of God. It's there. It's available for each and every one of us. It's there. He's waiting for you. So thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys. Bye.